social justice. I know there's not much you can do in terms of helping to solve the problem of people who have hatred in their heart, to see other people who may be different from them as human. And that's a major problem that we have right now. The basic feeling of, or the basic of being recognized as human. I often say when they see us as human, they'll treat us as human. And I think that since the advent of George Floyd and so many other incidents that we've seen, which shows that they're not shying away from this, the violence. In your state, there's still hangings that are unsolved. I mean, and lynchings that are unsolved that happened recently. So I want to say this. In terms of police reform, in terms of anyone that does business with the federal government, if they are hate-based or hate-related, they should not be eligible to do business with them. We need tracking systems in place for those rogue officers. I believe that the majority of our police officers are doing well, but those that 1 or 2% or whatever the percentage is, that have a disregard for life, liberty, people of different background, black people or people of color, those people need to have their law license revoked. The process is there for that to happen on state levels, but it's not followed. And I think that the federal government should intervene on that level as well to make sure that whenever you have an officer that is charged with these heinous crimes, that their due process is followed all the way up into looking at not only getting them prosecuted, but making sure that they're not able to serve in that role of someone who was sworn to protect and serve, because they don't have that honor, and so they should not be in that position. And finally, housing. We've been priced out here in South Florida. You have a workforce, you have a labor force that can't afford to live within 20 miles of where they work. And so people have to travel, commute from one county to the next in order for them to survive, where rents and mortgages may be a little bit cheaper. Federal government programs, like you said, the down payment assistance programs, but not only that, we need to find some other way of assisting different local municipalities or counties to ensure that there are places for low-income housing in cities like Miami. The issue that we've had, and we continue to have, is that wages have stayed stagnant for over 30, 40 years. If you look at what a teacher makes now coming out of college today versus where they were making coming out of college 30 years ago, you may see a very small incremental growth. But at the same time, the cost of living and the cost of everything else has grown exponentially. And so these are the challenges that we face. And this is something that we really need to look into and see how we can resolve these issues with stagnant wages and the ever-increasing cost of everything else that we need to have. Those are the questions that I have and comments. And also, again, I think that you are such a great role model for my niece. I don't have a daughter, but I have nieces. I am from the Bahamas. My mother's American. So for all of the Caribbean, all of the diaspora, we definitely appreciate you and what you represent and what you bring to this ticket. And we encourage you to continue to do the good work and be that shining star that you've shown yourself to be. I've seen you in those Senate hearings, and I mean, you made me proud every time. So I want to continue to encourage you to do the same, and I'm looking forward to what's happening after November. I'm looking forward for what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts, for all that you have highlighted. there's a lot there. I'm not going to attempt at this moment to unpack it all, but I've taken extensive notes, and I look forward to us continuing this conversation and following up, because not only have you identified the problems, but you also are offering great ideas for solutions. So I want to make sure that I follow up with you. I will talk about one of the many things you talked about, just as a point of emphasis about what's at stake in this election, and that is the future of healthcare in America. So President Barack Obama, together with Vice President Joe Biden, did what was probably one of the most innovative and substantial public policy reforms that we've seen in modern history with the creation of the Affordable Care Act. It reformed substantially how we do health care delivery and who has access to it in our country. Donald Trump has Bill Barr in court right now attempting to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act created access to over 20 million people who otherwise did not have it. It allowed, we talk about our students and the concern that young people are coming out of high school and college right now that they may not have jobs. One of the things the Affordable Care Act did is it said that up to 26 years old, you can be on your parents' coverage. We talk about longstanding health disparities in terms of race, and we know that COVID preys on people with pre-existing conditions. And for us, that's about diabetes, it's about high blood pressure, it's about asthma, all of that. If they are successful in trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, it means that it will come back as a policy that if you have a pre-existing condition, you can be denied coverage. Understand that COVID, we still don't really know the long-term health impact to the human body if you are one of those over 6 million people who contracted the virus but through God's grace lived. Things like lung scarring, which going forward would be considered potentially a pre-existing condition for which you could be denied coverage if Donald Trump has his way. Joe Biden, on the other hand, not only would keep the Affordable Care Act intact, but has as a major priority that we would expand coverage under the Affordable Care Act, including mental health care. Because I couldn't agree with you more. The undiagnosed and therefore untreated trauma that people were experiencing before this pandemic. I've long worked on this issue in terms of the children growing up in poverty, which, by the way, poverty is trauma-inducing. Growing up in communities where there are high rates of violence because of poverty, that is trauma-inducing. Our children are not being diagnosed and therefore not treated. We have, as a public health care system, long been under some misconstrued notion that healthcare means addressing the body from the neck down, instead of wondering we also need healthcare from the neck up, right? You recognize somebody if they broke their arm and say, oh, can I sign your cast? Can I open the door for you? But we don't do that in terms of mental health care. So Joe and I have talked extensively about it, and this is one of our priorities, but I do want to connect it to also this election and what's at stake in the next 54 days. Because if Donald Trump has his way, there could be at least 20 million people who almost immediately will lose their coverage, including all those folks with pre-existing conditions, much less what we can do to expand coverage, including an emphasis on mental health care. So let's follow up on all of the other points that you made, but I do want to thank everybody for the time and for the thought and for the continuing conversation that we will have. And I'll turn it back to the mayor.
Well, thank you, Senator Harris. Were those your concluding remarks, or would you like to take us out with some concluding remarks before I thank everyone for their time this afternoon?
My concluding remarks are that everything that has been mentioned here, this is about, and the reason that we are doing this is that the American people deserve to be seen and heard. And if their government is going to be at all relevant to their lives, It is because we do this in response to their needs. And the thing about Joe Biden is that he understands that the expression of strength of a human being and of a leader is not measured by who you beat down. It's measured by who you lift up, especially in times of crisis like this one. And so that is a large part of what motivates us to be here and to work as hard as we possibly can over the next 54 days. Florida, last day to register is October 5th. Early voting will start sometime in October. I don't have the date in front of me. We encourage everyone to vote early as the law allows you to do. And I will remind folks that there are all kinds of obstacles. We know that here in Florida and throughout our country that have been put in the way of trying to get Black folks not to vote, students not to vote, Native American, our indigenous brothers and sisters not to vote. Those obstacles are present, and we're going to have to work around them. We're going to have to surmount them, but let's be prepared that there are a lot of folks who have so much at stake. And the reason that we need to vote is, of course, about honoring the ancestors, including the most recent, John Lewis, who shed his blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. But the other reason we need to vote is this. I encourage people to sit back and ask, why are they putting so many obstacles in the way of my ability to vote? Why are they doing this? From the days of requiring folks to count how many jelly beans were in that jar to qualify to express their voice through their vote. Why are they doing this? And I think the answer is very clear. Because they know when we vote, things change. And therein lies our power, which we should never let anyone take from us. So this is my concluding remarks to all of the friends and family in Miami-Dade and in Florida. Let's never let anybody take our power from us. We have too much to do, and our country is worth this fight that is in front of us. So with that, I thank you all of you for being here, and Mayor, I'll pass it over to you.
And thank you. Thank you, Senator Harris, future Vice President of the United States of America. I want to thank everybody that's been here with us today. And I want to summarize sort of very quickly what we've heard. We've heard access to capital, economic recovery. We've heard aid to HBCUs. We've heard recognizing the value of higher education. There's a system that has failed us. People are losing their families and their lives in a situation that did not have to be. We need access to health care that must continue. So what I've heard is that the Biden and Harris administration has a plan for all of this. They have a plan for a system that has failed us. We want to be invited to the party, but we also want to be able to be asked to dance. So we would like to be led by someone and a team and an administration that has the courage to speak the truth for the benefit of all of us in this country. So on behalf of myself, who is the daughter of a strong woman and a strong Black woman who is trying to raise two little strong Black women, I thank you. I thank you on behalf of our community and Miami, Florida. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you to all of our panelists. Congressman Wilson, thank you for your wise comments and all of your leadership all these years. We appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who's been watching this evening. Remember, the last day to register to vote is October 5th. Plan your vote, and thanks for joining us today, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.